Hey friend, I'm Sarah Magdalena and you're listening to the Daydreaming Rose podcast, in which I talk about things I love like radical self-healing, feminism, relationships, activism, plant friends and magic. Sometimes it's just me sharing my thoughts, and sometimes I invite beautiful guest speakers for exciting interviews. You can subscribe on iTunes and check out my website daydreamingrose.com, as well as sarahmagdalenalove.com for all things web design and online marketing. Hey everyone, I'm so excited to interview my friend Jade today. They have been a friend for a couple of years and I have read a bunch of their zines which I really enjoyed, and as you know, I really love making community media, so I'm so happy to have them on the show. And also it just feels really great to interview friends. When I started this podcast I was like, ooh, what if I need to email strangers all the time and they're gonna say no? But kind of going into it a couple of episodes now, I feel like, you know what, I just have really amazing friends and I can just probably fill a whole year with interviewing just my friends, which is great. And they happen to care about the things that I care about, so yay. So I'm gonna introduce Jade themselves.
Okay, I'm Jade Mars. I'm a writer and zinester primarily. I write the zine Scorpio Moon and lots of other zines too. I'm also a musician. I am 1/4 of Brighton's only all-trans pop-punk covers band, Twink 182.
Yay!
And I'm also a workshop facilitator and a witch.
I can confirm I have been to a workshop and it was awesome.
Thank you.
Before I go into my other questions, actually one thing that just came up, can you tell us what a zine is?
Mm-hmm.
I feel a bit awkward, but I don't know.
Yeah, well, maybe some people don't even know what zines are, so maybe I should...
Let's go one step back.
Okay, so a zine is short, I guess, originally for magazine, and it's basically just a small self-published booklet. It can be on anything, like the fanzines is a really big thing, so like about music or things like that. So a zine is a personal zine, and it's basically just writing about your life and your experiences.
Yeah, that makes sense. That's beautiful. It's a bit like, sometimes it feels, you know, now that you're saying this, I realize I have actually read a lot of them.
Yeah.
But sometimes it feels like someone has just taken a few pages out of the journal, and that's not to say that there hasn't been a lot of thought and energy gone into it, but it also feels just, like you said, really personal. That's cool. Can you maybe tell us how you first got into zine making?
Yeah, so the first zine I ever got, I think I was about 15 or something, and this is like before the internet really existed properly. And like, I don't even know how I found out about it, but it was like really old school and like sending someone a check through the post or something and getting it sent back.
Wow.
But I didn't really get into them then, but I was really into like pen paling, and I feel like the two are really connected. And then I guess I like really got into zines, I think maybe about 5 years ago. And I was running this charity campaign called Armpits for August. We got women to like grow out their body hair to raise money for a charity for people with PCOS, polycystic ovary syndrome. Anyway, so as part of that we put together a zine for people to write about their experiences. And then we started, I think the first zine fest that I went to sell that zine was London Queer Zine Fest, which ran for a couple of years. And like, once I went there and I just like saw all of the cool stuff that people were making, I was like, oh my god, I found my people.
Great.
It was really great. And like, just to start writing my own zines as well, like I really found it was helpful with like mental health and things like that, and also sort of dealing with the like post-graduation, like, oh my god, what am I going to do with my life now? Like finding some sense of purpose or whatever, because I was just like stuck working like shitty jobs and things.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, I'm not meant to swear.
No, that's allowed. Yeah, that's one of the first things I decided when I sat down about like, what is this podcast gonna be? And I was like, just want people to be able to be themselves. Swearing is definitely allowed.
Okay. Yes. So I was working shit jobs. I worked in a call center. It was like the worst thing ever. But yeah, outside of that, I just really felt like I needed to be doing something creative and doing writing and stuff, and it was really freeing as well to be able to do writing that wasn't specifically like academic work, and where you could just write more about your life and your experiences and not having to constantly be like, oh, am I going to get a good grade for this?
Yeah, totally. Yeah, and there's also, I think the other thing I really love is that there's no one editing us, you know, that just, that you just asked, like, can I swear on this podcast, just reminded me, like, you know, you and I can decide that, and that's so amazing.
Yeah.
And, I've kind of over the years experimented with different kinds of media outlets. I started blogging when I was 15, and so that's a long time ago now. And I love social media platforms, but I think definitely this year I kind of felt like I want to step away from Facebook in my business as much as I can, because there's so much censoring. Like, there's so much I can't post about on my business pages, and I have to spend so much money on that to let people actually see what I'm writing about. And with the media that we can really produce and own and distribute the way we want to, like podcasts or zines, or our own blogs, that just feels really different. It feels like speaking to someone directly and not having to worry so much about, you know, if there's a gatekeeper, and if so, what will the gatekeeper think and stuff. So that's really great. And I also really love what you said about finding some purpose. I think definitely for me also, in when I had sad periods, I think making something with your hands is so helpful, and like being able to hold something that has come out of a challenging situation or period in your life is so cool, and then sharing it with someone else and knowing that this person will know they're not alone, and you've read other people's stuff and felt the same. So it sounds a bit cheesy, but it is really true, isn't it?
It is really true.
So my next question would have been, what do you get out of going to zine festivals? But you kind of also already touched on that a little bit, but maybe you have more to say on like the kind of people you meet there, and because you know I know that you're also an introvert yourself, right? And so I think for us like there has to be a real incentive to go to something.
I mean, I actually don't know whether I am an introvert, because I feel like I used to be an extrovert, but then I don't know, then like mental health happened, and like I don't know, I feel like I'm in a period of recovery from like having a really bad mental health thing, so maybe one day I'll be extrovert again. I don't know.
I won't hold you to be introvert. I just noticed that you have really good introvert skills, or you're very good at understanding introvert needs. I hope that's true. I guess well, I think when you're a writer, often it can be really hard to know what other people are thinking, because I don't write blogs or anything, so I don't have that like immediate reaction from people. And often I think when you make a zine and you like send it out into the world, you're just like, well, some people are buying it, but like I have no idea what they think about it. So going to a zine fest is really good in that sense, in terms of like you can actually meet the people who like are interested in your writing, and it's like there's always just like really sweet people that come up to me and like say how much they like my work and how they can really relate and things like that. So that's really nice, and just like building a sense of community and meeting other people who are writing and creating, and I guess also just spending lots of money and buying loads of zines. That's great. But then, I mean, they're comparably cheap, aren't they? I think that's another thing that's really beautiful about them. Do you want to tell us what your favorite zine is, and then can like maybe tell us about the favorite zine from someone else, and then also the favorite one that you made yourself?
I mean, I have a lot of favourite zines by other people, so I tried to narrow it down to 4.
That's cool.
So my favourite zines are, there's one called Telegram by a person called Miranda Elizabeth, and they live in Canada. and it's all about mental health, and so mainly like borderline personality disorder, and sobriety, but also like witchcraft and like femme magic and stuff.
Ooh, that sounds great.
Yeah, that's really great, and they've been writing that for like years and years and years.
So is it like a series?
Yeah. And yeah, these are all perzines, like all my favourite zines are perzines.
Okay.
Also one called Sea Witch by a person called Clementine Morrigan, who's also Canadian. Yeah.
The Canadians, they make good
zines. They're both in Toronto. I'm like, I need to be there. Yeah, I think they've actually stopped writing that one now, but I think there was like 11 or 12, and that was like similar kind of things, like mental health and like femme, gender and sexuality and stuff, and magic and things. And then a couple of my other favourites are by other autistic people. There's one called Autoclave Heart by someone called Birdie, and another one is Meta Paradox by Olivia, and they're both autistic writers. And like, yeah, for me it's just, I guess I was only diagnosed as autistic last year, so it's still like really, really exciting to just read about anything to do with autism. And yeah, I think because you get that like really like personal insight into someone's brain and what's going on, and it's just like really validating and great. Yeah,
so true. Definitely.
Yeah,
I think there's something like, even if it wasn't that it would be hard to have these kinds of things published by a conventional publisher, I also think there is something that liberates our minds in just knowing that we're not going to have to give it to someone else to edit. And I think the things that then are allowed to kind of come out as sometimes more authentic and really exciting. Yeah,
for sure. I guess my favourite of my own zines, well, my most popular zine is my top 5 poo stories.
Oh wow! I don't have that one yet.
You should. No. I'll give you a copy. Yeah. It's just 5 stories about me doing poos in different places around the world. I don't know, I'm kind of like, I'm doing all these like really like heartfelt, in-depth other zines, but people just want to read about poo. Like,
But I mean, I am sure that zine is really cool, but I do also want to let everyone know that you also write about other deep shit, you know? Like, your personal zines are really, really great. The reflections are so lovely, and I also really love how you make them, like how the pages are laid out and how you just have these beautiful little backgrounds, and it's so relatable. Do you maybe want to share how you came up with the, like, it's called Scorpio Moon, isn't it? Right? Yes. How did you come up with that title, and what is tying them together, the different ones?
So it's called Scorpio Moon because my moon is in Scorpio. People always ask me if I'm a Scorpio. I'm like, no, but my moon is in Scorpio. And I guess for me, having like a Scorpio moon is just like having like really intense feelings all the time. I mean, you're a Scorpio, right? So I guess you can relate.
Totally.
And I think I was inspired, I guess, by some of those other zines that I talked about, and I really wanted to write one that was about mental health and magic and things like that. And just at the time that I was writing the first one, I was just like having a really shit time in life in general, and I just felt like I needed to like process that and put some words on the page and like share it with other people. So I guess it kind of changes what's in each issue depending on what's going on in my life, but I guess the general themes are like mental health and autism, and like general witchiness, and whatever else fun stuff's going on for
me. Lots of witchiness. And my next question would be, if someone wants to start making their own zines, do you have any tips for them, especially maybe for people who can't go to a zine fair to get inspired? Like, I know Etsy is a really cool place to kind of start looking for them. And you've shared a couple of people, and I would imagine that if people put these names into the search bar on Etsy, they will probably come up. But can you share any like real life tips for them?
Well, I guess my main tip would be like, you just just do it.
Yeah.
I think people are like really scared, and when they first maybe try and do it, they don't know what they're doing. But I think the point about zines is like it is DIY, and like it's not meant to look polished and stuff.
Exactly.
If you need like actual tips for like how to do it, like folding the pages and like getting the numbering right and things like that, there's lots of good like YouTube tutorials and things like that. But I think often you can like ask other people that you know, or if you know them online, just for hints and things like that. And there was something else I was going to say but I've forgotten. No, I don't know.
Oh, maybe it'll come back.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Oh yeah, I remembered.
Okay.
So I think I also, lots of zinesters, they like do trades, so you can often like, if you are making your own zines, then you can swap them with other people, and like that's especially good I find for people who don't live in the UK or Europe. Like I often just trade with them, because otherwise buying things and paying postage is like so expensive. So just reach out to the other zinesters and find that community.
I'm a really big fan of trades in any way. Anyway, I think trades are just the best, and I think they've given my my work so much energy, and so like really opened possibilities that wouldn't have happened otherwise. So trades are the shit. Definitely. The other thing that I would love to talk to you about is your queering intimacy workshop that I did with you recently. I really, really loved it, and I was just wondering if maybe you can tell us a little bit more about what queering intimacy means to you.
Sure. So for me, queering intimacy is, I guess I see it as two different things which are obviously related, but firstly would be sort of expanding the notion of intimacy. Like when we usually think about intimacy, I think it's like either like sexual or emotional, but quite often within like a like close romantic monogamous relationship. So firstly, I guess I want to expand that and like build upon ideas of relationship anarchy, about how, you know, romantic relationships don't have to be the most important ones in your life, and you don't need to be monogamous and things like that, and thinking about different kinds of intimacy and being able to do them with different kinds of people in your life, and not necessarily just being like, well, this is this kind of relationship, so we have to do XYZ and we can't do these other things. So just expanding that and like figuring out what really works for you and the other person in that relationship, and how you want to be close. And the other side that I've been thinking about it is like exploring intimacy with the non-human, so either with like animals and plants, also like places like the sea and nature, things like that, and thinking about other kinds of intimacy. Like I think when we did the workshop, someone brought up technological intimacy, which I thought was really cool, and like the relationships that we have with machines, and also like spiritual intimacy. So just thinking about all the different ways that we can be in relationship with everything else in the world.
I feel like we could totally like write a whole book on that subject, and it feels to me like definitely, even though I've been thinking about these things for a couple of years now, it still feels like the beginning of a long journey of unlearning, really mainly. And I think that's one of the main things that makes me feel really happy about not being straight, because I think questioning these things, I mean, how can it not be the best thing ever to sit down and think about how you really want to relate to people, and what kind of intimacy you really wish for, how that can work, and taking the pressure out of getting all these things met from one person. I think that has that's only ever really been good to me. For me, it has definitely also been hard, just because we are, we're all growing up in this world, and that comes with so many expectations and lots of pressure. But I'm just speaking to like old friends from school that are straight. I just feel kind of almost really sad how uncommon it is to question these things, and I just imagine, I mean, it's hard for everyone really, but I just imagine I would feel it's even harder if I was straight and I was more in this environment where there are just really certain expectations, and it is quite hard to challenge them as an individual within that community. But that's, as I said, really not to say that our communities are definitely so much easier. They definitely come with their own struggles and stuff. But I really loved what you said about intimacy with nature and animals in particular. I think studying herbalism for the past year has made me feel so much more intimacy with plants and nature and my surrounding, and that's really grounding and cool. And yay.
I definitely, I feel like I've started doing herbalism as well, and I feel like I just had like a fling for a couple of weeks with the violets that are in my garden, which I think you had some time with them as well.
Yes, I did.
But so this is a new house that I'm living in, and I didn't really know what was going to happen in the garden in the spring, but then it was suddenly like violet time, and they were just like everywhere, and it was like they just smelt so amazing, and they're just like purple, which is my favourite colour, and just like you can just have this really intense experience with them for like a couple of weeks. And you know, I've been like making tinctures and oils and things, and now they're just gone completely, and like it just really felt like an affair or something.
Totally. I have an affair with mugwort at the moment, but I feel like we've gone past the stage of it being a fling, and I feel like it's a deeper commitment now. I even got mugwort tattoos, and I feel so in love with this plant. Sometimes I see mugwort wild on my walks, and I'm like, I just want to spend the rest of my life studying you. I want to see you in different ways. I want to make tinctures and oils. I want to smoke you. I want the tea, everything. I want everything, and I would just want to know. I want to know everything there is to know about you. And I know there's so much that I can learn from that, and so that's really cool.
For sure.
Do you want to say a little bit more about what is important in your relationships right now for you? I think that's just like an interesting, I mean, we're not going to hold you to this in any way. These things always change, but I think that's just so interesting to take snapshots about what is important to us in relationships right now.
I mean, I feel like the things I'm going to say are probably important most of the time, but I guess just like communication is really important, and also is something that I find really hard. I mean, I think most people find it quite hard to communicate and stuff, and just sort of like having some like quiet time with myself, and like tapping in and like figuring out like what I really want, and if the relationships I'm in, if that is possible, or if they're like enriching my life or not, and just figuring out ways to have the relationships that you want. And that's like really hard work, but it's really, really worth it, and really rewarding, and building up communication skills. I guess that's particularly hard, like being autistic and stuff. I can find it really hard.
It's hard.
And just like being able to like ask for what you want, and like being okay with rejection, like that's a thing that I decided to do a couple of years ago, and it was like a wholly positive experience. And it still is. And I don't know, I feel like if you get used to asking for things, then it's like maybe surprised that people more often say yes than no anyway, but then, you know, when there are the no's, then it's just like, oh, okay, well, that didn't work out, but you know, it's fine, and we can like move on or whatever. I should definitely copy that skill. I think I need to get better at asking for help, with the knowing that a no won't kill me, and there's lots of other options and possibilities. Totally. And then you have to identify the need first and stuff. It's very complicated. It is hard.
It really is. I also feel like, I've been thinking about the same things a lot, and feel like over the last 3 years or so have become, actually it's probably not a coincidence, because I've been single mainly for the last 3 years, and that gave me some really, really good space to think about the kind of relationships that I want to have, and the ways in which I really like my friendships to be quite romantic, and the kind of intimacy that I like and need in friendships. I feel like for me, introvert loneliness is definitely a thing where I have really limited capacity to engage with groups, which is funny in a way because I often organize group things, I know.
Yeah.
But that's because I feel I do that because the organization of it comes really easy to me, and so I just feel like, that's a thing that I can do, and if people enjoy that, then that feels like I can contribute something positive, and that obviously makes me feel good. And then there's also that I don't have the energy to meet all these people as often as I wish, so sometimes getting together with a group is actually really nice to stay in touch and to feel like you do see people, and you have that connection. But generally I find it a lot easier to connect with people one-on-one, and but generally I think as an introvert, needing a lot of alone time, and also generally not always having the energy levels that I wish I have quite high wishes for intimacy when I do hang with someone. I don't really maintain really casual friendships anymore, just because like the energy is limited, and I really
Spoken like a true Scorpio.
Yes. Spoken like a true Scorpio. Yeah, I was like, I don't have time for acquaintances anymore. I want to hang out with people and like dive into the deep end.
Yeah.
And be like, I cried last night about this thing on the TV, and I need to tell you about that. And yeah, that's how I do it. And some people were like that, and other people don't. But I cannot believe that it took me until my mid-20s to find out that that's really important to me. So I'm so really glad that I know now, and I'm really glad we're having these conversations and these kinds of workshops, because that's so important.
I think what you mentioned about being single, I feel like that's a really, really important thing to do in your life, because I don't know, I have been mostly single for most of my adult life, and I just feel like once you do that and it's fine, like I feel like then if you do get into a like romantic relationship or something like that, it just feels like there's like so much less pressure on it, because like you've learned that you can be by yourself and you can be okay, and you've probably got like a strong support network with your friends and things, and like I feel like that is a really like healthy thing to do if you have the capacity to do that. I think we romanticize conventional romantic relationships so much that I understand, like I can really relate to experience the feeling that it feels scary to be single. I can relate to that, but it's been so important to me. I've been single for most of my 20s as well, and the relationships I had in my 20s were really significant to me, and I feel I've invested lots into them, and I don't think that they were casual. But also the years I've had with myself were really meaningful, and I just know that there's a lot of stuff that I would have never done with a partner. I just know that when I have made a commitment to someone, I will stick around. And so stuff like spending 3 months in Portugal last year, and then buying the land that I now have, probably wouldn't have happened if I had been in a relationship at the time. And also think the business that I started now and have run for the last 2 years really started because I was single, and I had moved back to Berlin, and I just suddenly had all this energy back to myself. So I was like, cool, what am I going to do with myself now? And but I mean, relationships are great as well. I think it's so individual, but I just know I could not be someone who has significant periods of time in their life to be single. Do you have any like practical tools to share maybe with people who want to explore more how they feel about the intimacy in their life, or maybe they want to start question things? So I guess something would be like a yes, no, maybe list, which is usually used like just for sex. So you would have a list of like different sexy things that you could do, and you can decide whether you want to do them and answer yes, no, maybe to all of them. So I would suggest doing that, but just for every kind of intimacy in your life. So obviously that's like loads and loads of things, and I know when we did the workshop together, like people were just, we had like hundreds of things, and then we just had to stop because we had to run out of time. I don't have any resources about that, but I feel like we should make some.
I think everyone can make their own yes, no, maybe list, really. I know there's a tool online for sex and kink where people can do that with a partner or several partners, and then I think it works so that you only get the yes answers from your partner if they have also answered yes, so that if you have said yes to something that they have said no to,
Mm-hmm.
it's not awkward, which I feel
Yeah.
like, I think I get that totally, and it might be really useful, but I also feel like it would be nice if we could cultivate the kinds of environments and conversations where it's okay to say yes to something that someone else says no to.
Yeah,
but that's
of
just
course.
as a side.
Yeah.
But I think you can just make your own Excel sheet, and I think maybe just a process in any relationship, like be that a housemate or like someone you might be dating or someone that's been your partner for like 10 years, to sit down and make this list of things that you could discuss in itself is really cool, and then to go yes, no, maybe, and how can we make space for the things that we have all said yes to. That's really cool, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, I'm a big fan of using spreadsheets in relationships and lists.
Yes. Me too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But just like really like something I guess I learned from like relationship anarchy and stuff is just like really, really like breaking down like what your needs are and what your expectations are and what you want in each particular relationship.
Yeah.
And not just being like, well, we're having this kind of relationship, so this means that all these other things will follow on from it, and sort of like the relationship escalator idea. Should I explain that?
Oh yeah, please do. I love that concept.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I guess it's the idea that you will, once you get into a relationship with someone, and it's like a romantic and sexual monogamous relationship, usually sort of once you're in there, you're then on this escalator up towards this like peak of like relationship fulfillment, and you go through like lots of really normative things like meeting the parents and having children and like living together and getting married and, you know, all that kind of stuff that I'm not interested in. But yeah, I think it's really useful to actually be able to resist that and figure out if you actually want to do all those things in the relationship, because often people don't want to do those things, but it's really easy to like fall into just like what you've been taught to want, and maybe past relationships where you weren't so consciously thinking about those things. So yeah, just kind of shifting the focus away from this like upward progression, and just actually being with the other person and figuring out what you both want and stuff, and then, you know, hopefully there's probably going to be things that you can't give each other, but then being able to then look where else in your life you might be able to get those kind of support or intimacy. I think that's really important. Yeah,
totally. I remember one time you and I hung out with some other friends, and I said I don't actually want to have any non-romantic relationships, and you said, and you really got me. I was like, and that feels really rare, and I don't know why. I'm like, honestly, why would you have a non-romantic relationship? And let me explain what I mean by that. I feel, to me, romantic attraction and sexual attraction can be really separate, and I actually feel having them combined is cool, and like I'm totally open for that to happen, and it has happened for me in the past, and that was cool. But I think I really see a lot of value in really looking at these things separately and being like, I feel really romantic about you, or I feel some kind of sexual attraction to you, towards you. But like the default of combining that and then getting into the escalator is that's just nonsense. I just don't get it. And I feel like, you know, life is so, I want to say difficult, and that's not true. Like, you know, life is also really beautiful, and I don't, you know what I mean.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
What I mean is really like, come on guys, we're under Trump right now. Capitalism is still happening. You know, like, organic vegetables are not growing on the street right now for everyone to eat. So like, let's be romantic and celebrate romantic aspects of our relationships in any way we can. Like, be that making a commitment to like checking in with someone once a week or twice a month or something, to really ask how they are, like on a really deep level, and hold space for them to not be okay. Or that can be like lighting candles when you're hanging out with your friend, or like knowing what their favorite tea is, or like reading something to them. And it's just the best.
It's really great. I feel like it's really like cherishing your friendships, and like I just really love doing like really cute things for other people, and like having that kind of intimacy where like you can like immediately see something and like know that they'll really like it, and things like that. And just building like this feeling of like specialness or like importance in each other's lives.
Totally. Yes. Yeah. Oh, so many feelings. That's great. Awesome. I feel like we could definitely do another episode together. I kind of want to keep them not too long because you know, attention span and stuff.
Yeah.
But if people want to reach out to you, can they find you on Etsy or like do you have a favorite social media platform maybe where people can find you?
Yeah. So my Etsy and my Instagram, it's the same username. It's Queer Arcana, just all one word. If you want, you can email me. My email is jademars@protonmail.com. They're probably the best ways to contact me. I deleted my Facebook in December and it was great. And my Twitter, and I have not looked back. So yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, thank you so much. I'm going to add your links to the show notes as well. So if people weren't able to write that down, they can just go back to the show notes and click there. Thank you so much for talking to me today.
Thank you for having me.
I feel like we had so many good feelings, and I like really care about these subjects so much. And so yay, let's brainstorm about another episode.
For sure.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.
And now a final little note from me. If you enjoyed my podcast, I would really appreciate a review on iTunes. For new podcasts, this is a really important way to make sure that we're being found and to reach more people. So thank you so much for writing a review. And a reminder that if you're into plants and magic and ritual, you can sign up for my free ritual course on daydreamingrose.com. Bye.